Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Thursday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, today's video, I'm going to talk about two specific incidents that have to do with the Kansas City Chiefs. One just happened yesterday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon in Kansas City. If you haven't watched the news in the last 18 to 24 hours, I just learned about this morning. It's a scary, troubling story that we hear all too often in this country. I'm going to talk about that first, and after that, I'm going to finally talk about the incident that happened at the Super Bowl between Travis Kelce and his coach, where he yelled at the coach, and the coach kind of fell over. I think he actually grabbed. He didn't actually. I don't think he actually pushed him, but he yelled in his face. Coach Andy Reid. And the reason I'm talking about this too, when I first saw it, I wasn't all that surprised. Sports can get hot, but a lot of the things that what I didn't realize was how many women were seriously put off by this type of behavior. I mean, seriously put off. I'm going to talk about that next. All right, let me start first with the incident that happened yesterday at Union Station. The Kansas City Chiefs celebration. Now, the numbers I have here, there was another incident with an AR-15. At least 2 people are in custody. This was while the celebration was going on. The links will be down below. There's video to this and everything. They'll be down below. It's scary. It's troubling. I got to give you a warning straight up. The numbers I have for this are 22 people injured. 9 of them children. These are the numbers I have, and every article I read, the numbers are a little different. So 22 people injured, 1 person passed away, a mother of 2. I think she was 32 years old, a big Kansas City Chiefs fan, hit in the stomach. Sad, like I said, this is a bizarre story. 7 people critically injured, 22 people overall, 1 fatally. Those are the numbers I have right now. Let me just stop for 1 second right there. After I saw this story, I thought I'd talk about these 2 stories, and I was getting ready to do this video. I was doing my morning ablutions, as I call them, showering, shaving, and all of a sudden, I remembered something that happened to me, a thought that went through my head like 2 or 3 days ago. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday. I was at the library. I was returning books, and I was actually on my bike, and I was unlocking my bike, and a grandmother walked by me, and there was the littlest. Kids always look at me because I have this, I have this huge bike. It's a 29-inch large frame. And I'm a big guy, and a lot of times I go in the afternoon when I take a break from my artwork from my work. And kids are going in there a lot of times. And this grandmother is holding a hand of, I don't know how old this kid is. It's a little girl, a little blonde girl. And her eyes are squinted because it's all sunny out. And she's looking up at me. She's got her finger in her mouth. And she's looking up at me as she's smiling. And she is so freaking tiny. I just look at her and my heart just melts. I never had kids. And when, now I realize I think it's too late for me. But I at this age, I'm finally too late. I'm starting to get this like parental feeling, like, oh God, I would love to have a little girl to protect her, a boy to teach her, and unfortunately, I just got clean and sober 17 years ago, and I'm just now beginning to emotionally getting to a point that other people hit 30 years ago. Okay, so this little girl walks by, and she's just, she's just able to walk. And maybe, I don't know, maybe 2 years old, maybe 18. When did kids first start walking? Maybe 2. I'd say she's not even in kindergarten, just tiny, and my heart just melts. And as she walks by, I look at her back, her pants, and her little pants and her little jacket, and they're just so freaking tiny. And my heart, and all of a sudden it occurs to me, it's like, what if something where, I would do anything for that child. That child is so innocent, so, I don't want to say vulnerable, It's up to us, as adults. It's bizarre that I'm just getting these feelings now at 58 years old, these like parental feelings. But all of a sudden, I don't know why this occurred to me, but what if a car went out of control or something like that? Would I die for that kid? That I swear on the Bible, that's, as I was riding my bike away, that's the thing that went through my head. Because it just seems like that little girl needs so much protecting. She's so tiny. And all of a sudden it just popped in my head. The grandmother's with her. What if would I die for that kid? Would I protect that child? Because she obviously, she can't do it herself. It'd be all up to somebody else if something if something was about imminent was gonna happen. And I was like, no doubt, not a doubt in my mind. I'm 58. I've lived a good 50 years on this earth. I really believe I wouldn't think twice about, especially it's not about me. It's about this vulnerable human being, this beautiful, innocent, and that's what went through my mind. The reason I'm saying this is because all the kids that were hurt at this incident. Okay, now this is the other part of this video. You hear somebody in the crowd yell, Patrick effing Mahomes. That's the reason this sticks out is because that's when the gunfire starts right after that. And the thing that struck me, the sound of a fully automatic weapon, like brr, brr, it's not semi, it's a freaking machine gun. And all of a sudden in my head, I'm like, what kind of human being? For what reason? What kind of human being? And the kids that got hit, for what freaking reason? And then, like I said, I thought back about how I think anybody would give their life for a little innocent, vulnerable human being. And what kind of person would open up fire? I don't know what the incident, what it had to do with. They said I think they've already said that it's not terrorism related. Here's something I noticed. You know how they say a carpenter will always think, well, everything looks like a nail to a carpenter. Did you ever hear that saying? Well, to a recovering drug addict, everybody looks like a drug dealer. They have this guy, they have two people in custody. And I'll use the picture of this guy I'm talking about, my thumbnail. And there's a couple things I noticed about him. There's one thing in particular I noticed about him. He's wearing a red tracksuit, right? But what's different about him? What do you see? What's different about him? He looks like he fits in with everybody else, right? Everybody's wearing Kansas City Chiefs stuff. There's something different about him. He's just wearing his stuff. His clothes have no insignia, right? So when this guy got dressed to go there, he put on something specifically to blend in. But why didn't he? If he was a Kansas City fan, he would have been wearing Kansas City emblems on his outfit. He didn't, and I don't think, because what he was wearing, I'm guessing he didn't have any Kansas City emblems on his clothing, and he wasn't a Kansas City fan. You see what I'm saying here? And I start thinking about gang colors, red. And that's what comes to mind right here. Just that's the first, like I said, maybe it's just like they say, everything looks like a nail to a carpenter. Everything looks like a nail to a recovering addict. Maybe everybody looks like a gang affiliated drug dealer. I don't know. I hope I can say that. That's the first thing that came to mind. But what kind of person would open up? If it didn't have anything to do with specifically targeting people, if it was just, if it was an interaction between two groups or two people or something like that, who would do that? Who, and the sound of that automatic weapon, you got to know you're spraying lethal bullets everywhere. The anger for the other person or to defend yourself, I can't imagine what kind of human being would do that. And it scares me. All right, let's move on now. The incident with Travis Kelce. When I first saw this, he yells at Andy Reid, right? He's like, and he's just, it's the worst picture. It's and he talks about this. I have the links down below where he says he shouldn't have done this. He apologized for it. Him and Andy Reid have talked about it. Andy Reid's okay with it. Travis Kelce says, I was wrong. I get heated. He made a lot of backpedaling excuses. Here's what struck me on Facebook, on Instagram. How many women were just appalled by this? That were just like, this is a red flag. Taylor Swift should break up with this guy because of, maybe potential domestic violence. And that had, if you guys watch my channel, I grew up with two women. My father passed away. I was the man of the family at 9 years old. I have never, ever laid a finger on a woman in my life. That was beat into my head as a young boy. It wasn't beat, but it was emphasized when I was young. I have never even thought of raising a finger to a woman. I've been an ass to a lot of women, and I regret that. But I've never laid a finger. And, it surprised me because, and it shouldn't surprise me, because women find this kind of behavior scary. And it's a red flag to them. And guys, even guys like me, don't seem to get it. Guys, a lot of guys think it's macho, it's part of the sports thing. You're sticking up for yourself, you're being an alpha male, you're making your point, you're standing your ground. Women should like that. You're a man, you're going to defend her. But women do not, it's a lot of women, most women, in my opinion, do not see it that way. And I remember let me tell you a few specific incidents. I was with Audrey. I've dated two women, two long-term relationships in the last 17 years. And this incident with this girl passed away, this woman passed away, my soulmate from COVID 2 years ago, unfortunately. But we pulled up at a mall, and we pulled into a parking space. And she, in my mind, she was getting ready to open the door to get out. And a car pulled in next to her with two guys in their 20s. And the guy in the driver's seat saw my girl going to get out, and he just opened her door and hit my car and, blocked her from opening her door. And I just lost it, man. I was probably about, this was like, I'd say eight years ago at the most. I was about 51 or 52 years old. So I was an older guy. These guys were half my age. And I got out and I just lost it on this guy. I went over in between the two cars and I grabbed him. I started yelling at him and he started yelling back at me, and I just grabbed him by the shirt and I threw him against the car, and it actually dented his car, and I think it broke the back window. I broke the back window with his body. And my girl's, Audrey's yelling, "Stop, Daryl, stop." And she starts crying, and I'm just furious. And I stop, I back away. The other guy, they don't, this is what I emphasize, when people yell at each other, come on, you two guys are like, you go, no, you got a problem. There's a lot of guys out there that have been in fights in their lives, a lot of fights, and they don't do that. You can't assume all guys are just going to talk smack and stop right there. There's a lot of guys that are used to going full out right off the bat. And unfortunately, I'm one of them. And this is a bad side of me. I've been trying, like I said, after quitting drugs, my emotions were hard to control. I hadn't felt my emotions in 2 decades. And one of the hardest things to do was to control my anger. I've gotten a lot better at it, but it's still a problem. But I was surprised. And after we talked, and Audrey was furious. She was scared. Because the way she said, your face, and you were so, the violence in your face, it wasn't you. She was terrified, and that's what it reminded me. Women guys out there don't think being aggressive and physical with other guys is going to make women be attractive to women. Because a lot of women, when it happens, maybe they say it is, but when you actually do it, when a woman actually sees you, that side of you, the face, the anger, it's not attractive to women. That's what I found. And there was another incident too, and we almost broke up over this. And in my head, I'm like, what are you talking about? I was protecting you. I was, it was your honor. You were getting out of the car. that's in my mind. To her, it terrified her. And she was a normal, she likes macho, she passed away now, but she liked macho guys. She wasn't, she was like any other woman. So I was shocked, that she was so scared and angry at me for doing this, and that's a lot of women have seen Travis Kelce yelling at the coach like this, and they're like, Taylor Swift should just get away from her. And maybe, and quite honestly, maybe they have a point, if he has temper control issues. And it's sometimes it's hard for, a guy protecting his honor, his uh, having respect, for his woman, for his possessions. When somebody just blatantly disrespects you, to me, I still have a hard time with that. And there was another incident where I got in an argument on Facebook, and me and Audrey were messaging back and forth. And a guy from high school friended me, and then he made this rude comment about me being arrogant or something. And I just went off. This was when we first got together, like 10 years ago. And I went off on this guy. He was just about to retire from the Navy in Virginia. And I was ready to drive down to Virginia from Connecticut. I told him, I said, "Where do you live, man? I'm coming down there. I'm coming to find you." And I was saying this, the messed up thing is I was serious. I was adding up how many hours it was going to take me to get there, how many hours it would take me to get back. Would I need money for bond, for bail? And Audrey was just appalled. She's like, stop it right now, or I'm never talking to you again. If you think, and this is the thing about the ultimate fighting, that another thing I think guys don't realize, in theory, it seems cool, two guys, duking it out, macho. But when you actually see it, it doesn't have an appeal for me, and I really doubt that it has an appeal for a lot of women too. It's scary. It's scary to them to see the aggressive violence that some men are capable of. It scares women. A lot of women don't see it as a plus. This guy's going to defend me. He's strong and tough. He's going to, a lot of women, that's what we think they think, but that's not how they see it. They see a scary guy that somebody they don't even know. Just some thoughts. I see I'm running long. I'm already up to 17 minutes. I want to tell you, there's so much more I want to talk about. A YouTuber that overdosed, a 23-year-old YouTuber, two men, I forgot what his name was, and Bobby Jean Carter, Nick and Aaron's sister. I want to talk about those overdoses too. They'll be coming up next on Artist in Recovery. I'll try to get that video out today. You guys have a good Thursday.